All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Saturday, April 12th of 2025. Looking ahead here, we have a ton of DFS action coming at you all weekend long. We have a 5-game early MLB slate today, followed by a 6-game main slate later this evening. We have golf rounds 3 and 4. We have a 2-game early NHL slate, 6-game main NHL slate, 13-fight MMA card, Xfinity today for NASCAR, Cup race tomorrow for NASCAR. We have Formula One tomorrow. We have UFL all weekend on. We do have COD. In case you guys missed it, we did add COD projections. Actually, I'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. No NBA today. NBA regular season ends tomorrow with all teams playing, I believe. So it should be a super busy NBA day tomorrow. But for those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew, one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS related questions. Get your questions in one of 3 ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim teams. Can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and then we do this show here on Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So tune in any one of those days, get your questions answered. If you guys aren't signed up with us, I highly recommend trying out our 5-day no strings attached free trial on the weekends. You get access to all of those weekend sports I just mentioned, and then that takes you into the middle of the week, so you kind of get that midweek vibe. But there's a ton of action on the weekends, the NASCAR, the MMA, the UFL, the F1 that you don't get during the middle of the week. So if you want to sign up, link in the description below. All right. Really quickly, I know I mentioned those COD projections. So I did want to call out this interview that we just did. So we hired an analyst to help us with our COD projections, similar to what we did with WNBA last year. It was like a third-party provider. We actually did an interview on YouTube yesterday, I believe. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you go to live, behind the scenes of SaberSim UFL and COD projections Q&A live stream. Okay, this video here, I'll drop it in the YouTube chat. This was an interview Jordan did with Sam, who is helping us out with those 2 sports in particular. Super excited to be working with Sam and offering more sports, right? So we're always trying to offer everything. I think we will get to a point, maybe eventually, don't quote me, but I think our long-term goal is to support everything, I think, except Madden Sims. We will not be supporting that. But yeah, so if you guys want to check out COD, we do have projections now in the app. No ownership for now, just projections, but one step at a time. That is definitely the precursor we need to do that in the future. All right, so with that said, let's get SaberSim up here. And you know what? We've been talking a ton of MLB during the week here. Kind of a good day on the weekend, maybe to mix it up. So why don't we go over to MMA? We didn't have any questions come in before the show, so fair we start with a slate demo here. Let any questions roll in as they will, and just kind of go from there. So I'm gonna get this MMA slate pulled up. 13 fight card, pretty big. Always good to check if any fights were canceled. Right, you just scroll to the bottom. And normally, if there are fights canceled, the players will still be listed here. And I'll just move my face. Players will still be listed, but they'll have an out status and a 0 projection. So sometimes it could be like a 13-fight card, but 2 fights were canceled, right? So you'll see like 4 players out, not projected down here on the bottom. But looks like all fights are good to go at the moment here, so that's great. There's one default rule on. We can just check that. Don't use opposing fighters. Makes a lot of sense, right? So I'm good with that. Me personally, I like to open up the salary band here. I would probably drop it and just let different combinations come together. You might not see that on like a 13-fight card. Kind of the bigger the player pool, the less weird the builder gets. So you might still see like higher projected lineups. That's okay. We're just kind of giving the builder the option, right? If stuff comes up in the Sims, to allow it to build it rather than put some salary constraint on it. So I like this. Helps your uniqueness if some of those lower salary builds and lineups are coming up and they're good, right? So usually salary is one way to get a little bit different. But here I'm basically ready to go. We'll build 2,000 lineups. That's fine. I'm going to make 2 super small adjustments to projections, just like 0.01 adjustment here. 88. I meant to do 88.7. Cool. So minor adjustment, as little as possible, and then kick this off, right? So here we do have our default contest sim on, so I'm not going to touch anything there. I'm just going to use that. So going to let the builder do its thing here, and lineups built super fast. This contest sim should auto kick off. Maybe it won't. All right. Oh, it's off. All right. I'm going to turn on run contest sim automatically after build. Should work on future builds. I'll just manually kick it off here. All right. So let's go to exposure. Sorting by exposure. Just kind of getting everything set up the way I kind of like it. All right. So far, so good here. What do we see, right? Right off the bat, getting a lot of exposure to a lot of the higher value fighters here, right? Like Alexander Volkanovski. Always good idea to just kind of pull up their range of outcomes and kind of see what you're dealing with, right? So this is kind of interesting, right? Like half of their graph is like kind of bell-shaped curve, and then the other side of the bell just like absolutely shattered, right? So kind of an interesting range of outcomes here. I would interpret this like, hey, I don't think value is like the most important thing here. As we see with like NBA, as we see with like pitchers and like kind of MLB and stuff like that. So it makes sense we're getting to value, but I'm not like in love with it. And the builder's not jamming it either, right? So, if we were getting 100% exposure to like this top value play and I saw their range of outcomes, I might consider bringing that down a little bit, but the builder's kind of already making that determination and doing that for me. So here I'm in agreement with the builder's decision, even though this play is like really high value, way higher than everyone else, to still kind of manage my exposure, still be a little bit closer, still have a little bit lower leverage. So I like this overall, right? All of my leverage is kind of flat. Highest negative is negative 21%. And then highest positive is like 16%, right? So here I'm sorting by my ROI metric automatically after I run it. A couple of things I like to do with MMA, right? A little bit differently. I do like to have an average salary aggregate metric as well as my average ROI one. Get to open this up a little bit. All right, so average salary 49.4. We are leaving some salary on the table by default here. I think that's fine. A couple of things we could do, right? So one, I could just set a ROI filter. Say, show ROI greater than 0. Save. Okay, how many lineups does that remove? It's not going to remove my top 20, but it is going to make sure I don't dip into negative ROI territory once I start making adjustments, right? Okay, so here I moved 880 lineups of my 2,000 into the trash. So a little less than like 50%. And then the other thing I could do, right, is some adjustments for duplication, right? So let's say I want to, apply like a blanket geo-mean filter, right? Well, first thing is you got to go and create a geo-mean custom metric with this add metric option. It'll look like this. This is a product ownership calculation. If you don't know what this is, you want to learn more about it, we do have a good tutorial on that in our help docs. So just come in here, type in geometric, and then how to ownership product and ownership geometric work. Good resource for trying to manage duplication in your contests. But anyways, once I have this custom metric set up here, I can go and I can filter by it now. So then I can go do a filter. I just renamed it GeoMean so I can reuse it in the future. And, what it is doesn't really matter. It's not like a magic number. What I'm mostly trying to do is I'm trying to get rid of the highest GeoMean lineups in my set. So first thing, you got to turn off ROI so you can understand the impact that this filter is having by itself. And then here I got rid of 8 lineups at this 31 value. Okay, then I would try lowering it, right? I'm going to try and lower it to 29. What I'm trying to do is get rid of like 10 to 20% of my lineups here. So then that would be around like 200 to 400. And then at a geo mean of 29, it gets rid of 249. So this is perfect, right? A little more than 10%. We're accounting for some duplication in our lineups. This is great. Then I would go turn my ROI filter back on, and now I'd be ready, right? It's okay that my salary stays the same. Some of my lineups did change, right? Our ROI was at like 290. Now it's at 276. So we're sacrificing a little bit of, this pre-contest ROI, but I think it's going to be worth it when we get into the post build, when we get into the post contest sim and flashback and things like that, to be accounting for duplication a little more upfront. All right. That did affect my exposures slightly here. I think my highest exposure was 60%. Now it's 55. We're getting a lot more leverage on certain fighters, right? We're getting a lot more leverage on Trayshawn Gore and Michael Chandler. So here right now, we need to start managing some risk. I would try using uniques. Uniques can be a useful tool here. We go from 1 to 2 uniques, very minimal changes to projection, salary, ROI. Okay, that's good. That brought our leverage down a ton, right? Gore went from like 30% plus to 21%. Chandler still sitting at about 20. And then our highest negative leverage was like minus 21. And now I see our highest negative is like minus 12. So this is great, right? Flattening out our exposures without having to do too much manual intervention. I wouldn't be opposed to just like leaving it here. You could try and go one further. You might just start to have a bigger impact on your lineups, just because, there's only 6 players in this lineup, right? So 3 uniques is already half. 3 seems okay. We went from like 270 to like 240 projection. Salary actually went up a little bit. But this is actually way flatter, right? No leverage above 17%, and then no negative lower than 12. So I wouldn't be super opposed to using 3 uniques here. I think 2 is a good number as well if you want to take a little bit more stands on the slate. 1 felt a little aggressive for me personally with like the 31% Gore and then the negative 21% Arosa. So somewhere within 2 or 3, it's always going to depend on your risk tolerance. But here, right, I'm using the contest sims. I'm managing duplication. I'm being aware of how much salary is in my lineups on average. And I'm still managing my risk, looking at my exposures and my leverages and trying to find a set of lineups that I'm comfortable playing overall, right? After all these changes we made with the 3 uniques, we're still only at lineup 50. So we've gone from the top 20 to playing, the 50th best lineup out of our pool of 911 lineups that remain. So this feels really good to me. I would be more than comfortable playing these lineups in my contests and, being ready to save them and enter them. So hope this gives you some ideas about how to build lineups for MMA for today. But with that said, no additional questions rolling in here. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Knocked out a MMA slate demo. Not something we always get to do. But I will be back Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern for our next show. So until then, everybody, take care. Good luck. Thanks. Bye.